Call the meeting to order. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic for one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty for all. Well, welcome tonight. The mayor is away and has joined us on Zoom. And Mayor, can you hear us? Okay. Well, and as we figure that out, we're going to move to first order of business to review and approval of the September 12th Village Board meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to.
Motion by trustee Silva, second by trustee Townsend. Any discussion?
So one thing,
Oh, is that?
yeah,
Mayor?
just one thing to note. I see we have the school diesel fuel agreement on the agenda to vote on, and in the minutes of last month, we had already voted on it. And I already signed that agreement based on last month's vote. Make sure that
Correct.
Thank you.
On the old business, we're going to delete the diesel fueling station agreement. Thank you. Any other discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. All right, treasurer's report.
Balances, we did receive two checks from Ready for draw.
You just,
$5K for BPA, was that for the, they we talked about?
That's recording.
It could have been worse, because they learned.
and
Or just laughs and just keeps. It's better to jump in.
just in terms of revenue, so we just had water and sewer tax in, right? Any issues? Okay. Okay. 100,000 outstanding, but that's not abnormal or slightly abnormal.
One that is recently changed hands. We're having some
Okay.
issues with that.
Please, because that's a big account, just keep us posted by email on that. That'd be great, so we're aware. I know that last quarter, we talked about some issues with bills arriving and not arriving, and it's probably an ongoing thing that we need to delve further into. That's good to hear. All of the, no, village water sewer, all good? Okay. Okay. All right. Just keep us posted by email because that's such a significant piece. Thanks. I'll entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report. Trustee Mildren, trustee Silva seconds it. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Who has seen the bills?
I'll make a motion to change those.
Trustee Silva and trustee Mildren seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carried. Any further financial business?
Could I make a request?
Sure thing.
I'm not. Mayor responding.
Mayor, just can you, chime in? I take it that you've been.
Sorry, I didn't vote on the bills because I obviously haven't seen them. I can chime in and say abstain as needed if that's the case.
Thank you. Mayor abstains on the bills. Department reports, start with DPW. Superintendent Martin.
Is, I have my report there. I just want to elaborate on a few things or discuss a few things here, but we did start Creekside walking trail. I've made some signs up for the steep embankment. Walk at your own risk until we decide what we're going to do about the fence that runs
Okay.
through there.
That's good to hear.
Just to let you know that that's in the works of being completed. It probably will be by the end of the year as we get time. Number 10, I've been talking to Shannon about spending some of our CHIPS money. We've got a pretty large sum of CHIPS money, and CHIPS are for the streets paving.
Right.
I would like to, sorry about that, would like to just make it known to you, if it's blessed by you that I'd like to use our CHIPS money to pay for a backhoe.
And that's allowable.
Yes, that is allowed. The stipulation is that we'll have to maintain it and we're keep it in our possession for 10 years, which is not a big deal. We had our last one for 17, so
Okay.
10 is doable. And it still allows about $50 or $60,000 still left in our CHIPS money for streets and whatnot.
So if we make that approval tonight, Lynn, you'll get quotes and we can approve it at an ensuing meeting?
Get the money back from CHIPS. We've already bought the.
You've already, oh, gotcha. Then you want reimbursement.
CHIPS to get it.
That's fine. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. All right. So you,
Lynn, was that backhoe the one we had already allocated funds for in the budget?
What's that?
was this one, we already paid for this one. This one was in the budget. We bought it and now he's looking to get some partial reimbursement from CHIPS on it. Because I guess, Lynn, you're not gonna spend all the CHIPS money on
That's
paving
correct.
because it's getting close to
And
the
we
end.
Still have a budget in CHIPS to pave the streets and I want to pave next year also, so. we're
Got it.
still-
Okay.
Thank you.
When is the chips actually start?
Say again?
When is the chip?
There's no stipulation, there's no time frame. Yeah.
What's the number? What's the number we're looking for now for
I don't have
reimbursement?
those figures in front of me. I've got them. Yeah.
The backhoe that we purchased. So
Yep.
it's just reimbursement.
Of $110-ish. All
Pay
right.
back 100%.
Awesome.
Although it was budgeted, we'll spend our CHIPS money for it. And
Any further discussion on this? Would, I'll entertain a motion.
Fine.
Motion by trustee Silva. Second by trustee Townsend.
Who's going to write?
We'll go into this local office and
Okay.
we submit it to
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank
The
you.
next thing is this is just put it on your radar, when the dock's going in and the landscape that's going on in Market Square, the changes going on down there. I do believe we're gonna need a dock person down there. I just.
We're in the beginnings
we
of
have
a
kind
dock
this
plan
that-
right now.
the
Thank
reason I'm
you.
bringing it up now is probably we're gonna start accepting boats in there before the next budget year.
Mhm.
So that might have to be worked into situation like in May.
Thank you.
Something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. There is some thought already going into that. So thank you
Okay.
for raising that.
The dog park, I just saw a map in there about where the dog park's gonna be. I'm cool with the dog park. I'll help out with what I can. I don't wanna do the fencing. I can do other things, but I don't wanna do the fencing. But the location of the dog park is where it is. My preference is over by the shop, but not way down at the end. It's very, very wet down there. If anybody comes into, for
Not in the
an access
corner.
area. No,
Right.
the corner is very wet.
That's what I mean. So in more.
Almost
Okay.
at the end of the fence line that we have right now. It's kind of in the general area.
When you
I'd
first
like to see
pull
that.
in? When you first pull in?
Poland, yeah.
That's to your left.
Okay, that's where they, I think.
They're trying to do that. That's what they'll do.
Yeah,
Okay.
they wanted to put it way down at the end, but it looks.
Oh.
I appreciate the input. That's good to know that it's too wet. We can move it, 50 or 100 feet, to
But I
the,
know there's been discussion about the DPW building the whole park. I don't think that we have the knowledge, manpower, I guess, know how to actually do that in a timely manner. So I think that that's something that obviously should be bid out to a private company.
Good point. I'll take that back.
thank you. Anything further, Lynn?
Just a couple things, as far as the diesel fueling going with the school, I think everything is all okay over there. I'm still working on pricing. We're pretty hard on pricing. And we have been doing what we've been doing for a long time with no issues, but the school has a different accounting system and we're kind of trying to match up with them. Shannon and I are gonna go over in the next day or two and sit down and have a discussion about exactly what they're looking for, but everything else is working very well as far as that goes. And I guess with that, I'm all done.
Well, thank you, Lynn. Any questions for Lynn before we move on? Thank you. All right, police department. Is John on? He's at the range. Yep. Anybody have any questions on John's report? Hearing none, we'll accept, and move on to heritage area.
Oh, yeah, I submitted a report too. There's a lot going on, nothing dramatic, but I was hoping to get the sort of RFP for the EV charging stations out before this meeting tonight. And it should, hopefully will go out by the end of this week. I've been talking with some other small municipalities that have done it and learned some lessons, so I've changed that a little bit, but that should go out. And so hopefully by the next, well, probably December meeting, I'll have the responses back for make a decision on. This is for hiring a contractor to lead us through the EV charging station. So
Okay.
if
Um,
anyone has any other questions,
any other questions for Mr. Altieri on heritage area?
We were talking about,
well, that the CFA grant that was put in July was for a couple segments of the trail and then fitness and equipment for the existing trail over the school and then building a new trail on that.
That's good. Appreciate it. Do you know how they guys?
Normally, the end of November, early December, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Visitor Center Director Report, Kathy.
We got actually pretty good September, busier than normal. Second Harbor Experience Street and one individually. Because we had visitors from the NOAA meeting that happened in September. We would definitely like to thank DPW. They've done a fair bit of work on our building and grounds in the past month and half or so, and also got our new AED installed for us. And then the only other thing I wanted to point out was the park signage. I think that there's just like an airport with the last page in there. That is just a mock-up of the new sign for Robinsonville Park.
Yeah, folks, this is the sign that will go up at Robinson's Hill. And this is not necessarily a new thing in terms of color. This is colors that we've used for village signage for a long time. There are specific color
There's a specific color formula.
thank you for that, right? And, you know, we ought to make sure that we have that color formula so that as needed, we can, you know, utilize it or indicate this to other folks. And I know that Mr. Kramer is going to be doing some work for us, and he's seen this, right? Exactly. So very good. Blue and gold. It is. Right.
Are we gonna
it's something we can discuss. I think.
Consistency.
Yeah, I would, I agree. So, yep. But I also, by the way, just my other comment is on this sign, I particularly like the fact that we brand our village on the bottom, right corner.
And the website.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Okay, thanks again, Kathy. Any questions of Kathy? All right, hearing none. Planning, yes, sorry.
Do you know what?
That was part of one.
See it on.
Barrett paving, yeah, okay.
Barrett paving, oh, is it for the trail? Gotcha. There was a, from Barrett paving.
It's a no bid.
It's a no bid?
It's counted as a bid.
Okay.
Okay, planning board, chairman, chairwoman, Quinn.
The summary of last month's meeting. And then, any questions on any of those 4 items? Okay, we don't have an application yet for that potential subdivision. And the military cemetery. Now the residents at Benson Barrett we're reviewing. And a roof mounted solar energy project, and that inspired me to comment that there have been the solar energy review. Then there was something else recently, I can't quite recall what it was, but made several of us realize that there are amendments for zoning law that are not in the bound zoning law booklet. And yet there's something we need to follow. So like getting ready to review the residential solar. The current regulations are not in the zoning law that every planning board member has. And that's listed online. So I think we should have a new printing compilation. And I think Dave's got information about that. But I mean, it's easy to forget or have somebody in the public look online.
What's the process when a law, when an update is made and it's approved by you or the board? What's the process after that to get it posted or sent out? And then they file it with the Department of State. And we do not make new updates in the office because it's a legal document. It should be taken care of by.
We'll work on that, because we kind of did it, but the existing one, we kind of did it a cheaper way.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then just as an aside, it was only today I really noticed that in the section referencing that solar, it says when they're applicable to it's a solar overlay district as noted on the map. Well, again, we don't have that in our map on display or in the document. So it's, it's definitely a gap. As well as what I've already mentioned that Barrett's PDD map that would.
Right.
That's another priority, but just trying to tighten up a lot of these loose ends that aren't just for convenience, but for trying to avoid a problem.
That's correct. And that's good that we should really begin that process. And this is probably a good example of that you just painted about why we should just work on that. So Dave, thank you. And we'll hear from you guys on that. Yeah.
Crazy to try to do changes, but.
Right. That's an excellent point.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, there's quite a few. Actually, since that
In the-
last copy was printed.
Yeah, there are.
It's 9 years.
Yeah.
Right. On the PD. Yeah, exactly.
No, I agree with you. We
Yeah.
should do that. Pick them up and say every
We'll, you know, what we'll do is, we will go back to our strategic planning and insert that as a priority because it's really, a legal obligation that we have. So, good. Any other questions of Janet? Okay. Village engineer.
Good evening, everyone. Ready projects update, so. Submitted track number 13 for 255,000. Current schedules are included. See the finishing touches start to come. Market Square Park, all the sidewalks, shrubs, trees, and grass have been installed. That will in with his crews. Electrical and lighting have been installed and are expected to test over the next couple of weeks. They finally got an electrical panel that was on back order for several weeks, which they'll be installing, and hopefully the order control system will start up. Patio pavers complete. Picnic tables and accessories will start to go in here in the next couple of weeks. All projects are on schedule except for the West Boat Ramp. So
You mentioned by the council about the West Boat Ramp.
so I guess probably 3 to 4 weeks ago, Robin started pumping and dewatering for the installation of the boat ramp, and it didn't go well. We had kind of a meeting on site and kind of said, well, what do you think you can do? You know, kind of looking for a proposal, what their thoughts were. We didn't receive one. Last Monday, they brought in another aqua barrier, which is similar to what they had before. And thankfully, that's kind of working better for them. The only issue is it kind of interferes with the last 20 feet of the boat ramp. Unfortunately, we don't really see how they could put in the last 20 feet the way that things have been going. So we kind of reviewed it and talked to Lawman about it and what they can do. And so what we did is we changed the slope slightly to a steeper slope to get us to the elevation we need to accommodate the functionality of the boat ramp. So there's no changes in functionality. You know, there's still floating docks. You know, nothing's going to change. You know, with the exception it's slightly steeper, and it's actually the same slope as the one on the east side, and the same slope as the one at Henderson as well. So we just kind of checked around. So this kind of seems to be the standard too. So.
What was the thought process behind the first slope? We had no issue with the first one on the east side. West side ramp wanted to go longer anyway.
We went longer, just, you know, potentially for, you know, if lower water levels were encountered. And we kind of looked at the history, and we went back to the last 50 years, 30 years, 10 years. I mean, obviously the most drastic has been the last 5 to 10 years.
Sure.
And the trend is the water levels are higher. So we kind of took a look at that, and also at the end of the boat ramp, there's a heavy stone fill as well that acts as kind of a surrogate boat ramp as a continuation as well. So, you know, there's going to be that there too. Even if the water does go lower, we'll still have that.
No change in functionality.
Correct. So the schedule, so they have the boat ramp scheduled to be installed in November. Just some of the installation of the floating docks kind of pushed out a little bit. I think their next pour is scheduled for this. The first pour is scheduled for this Friday. And there's still a lot of month of October left, and barring any weather, you know, they may be able to do that. I think that's what they're shooting for.
Right.
But hard to tell at this point to see how the first pour goes, and then maybe the second, and third. But I think they'll be close to November, but how close we don't know.
Okay, so just to underscore what trustee Mildred just said, so I had raised some concerns about, because the west dock also has the accessibility part, no change in that whatsoever. Okay, thank you.
The floating dock won't actually change.
Okay.
Still ADA compliant.
Is there still asphalt?
Yes, there is asphalt, yeah, on both sides. They're trying to time it so they can both do both at the same time. Which I think it's kind of, I think typically mid-November is kind of the latest they kind of stay open, or depending. So I think they've got that tentatively scheduled for, I think November 1st. Okay, thank you.
Okay, good.
So.
Actually, the temps and everything are with us. It's not really supposed to get too cold.
How about striking? Potentially, I think they could probably, depending, I mean, the asphalt's gonna be warmer naturally with the sun, and so, you know, maybe if they hit a couple, I don't know how long it typically takes to cure. In a day or two, I mean, it's just, so if they can get a good day to do it, I think. As long as we don't get any snow or anything like that.
You don't say.
It's all coming.
Strike that from the minutes. Just kidding.
Any change request?
No, nothing this month. Funding opportunity, so NOAA, the deadline to know, I think we're supposed to know for the NOAA request is tomorrow. Maybe I think your email is on, so you may be receiving something. So still working with FEMA to try to get the first disbursement request. We're probably gonna have both disbursements in. I mean, things are kind of wrapping up FEMA scope, so.
Okay.
We'll get that in. Phase 2, there's no requisition this month. Pickering Beach, the pavers are in, if you haven't noticed yet.
Yep, I did. Very
So,
nice.
Third Alarm and Harbor Master are mostly complete with the exception of the light poles and the support arms, which are kind of waiting. I think November, or is it early November maybe? Potentially, and some sidewalk for Harbor Master. And then they hadn't been able to work on Hamilton this month, and Ontario is very well. Well, Hamilton's kind of don't like this time next year, so they have some time on that, but I think they're looking to jump on it as soon as they can, but West Boat Ramp is the priority.
So that's an interesting point. So there's construction on Hamilton Street, Robinson's Hill, scheduled up for about another year.
Yes.
Therefore, nothing should obstruct Hamilton Street. So, you know, if we talked about the sign, and there's some eagerness out there to erect the sign, but the caution that we have given, we've got construction there, so we have to wait a year.
There's gonna be construction vehicles more so than there have.
Right, it's gonna increase, correct. That's just what I wanted to make sure it was on the record so that we could let Jay know that we've got to hold off on that. Thanks.
So my point is I was trying to, or one guy covering two construction sites.
Oh, you're talking, yeah, you are talking, save some money. Good for you.
That possibility is still there, so we have water intake, you know, that we're planning to put out to bid, we're gonna be submitting that to the Department of Health
Yep.
this month, hopefully next week.
Yeah.
Want to bid that out this year. So that is gonna be a spring, summertime, talking to a lot of contractors, you know, the lake lays down summertime, but you know, the directional drill to get out there
Yeah,
is about
yeah.
a month of drilling, so they're like, well, we could set up prior to that, and depending what contractor's looking at it, how they're looking at it, but that would be the ability to have one inspector jump back and forth, potentially 3 different projects.
There you go.
There you go.
Still going on, we have the pump station at Brown Shores Road,
Yeah.
and the intake, so essentially 3 projects
Yeah.
there. Where someone can bounce around.
Good.
So Brown Shores, hoping, I did an amendment, if there's questions then I can answer, but I'd like to put that out to get its regulatory ready for review, and perhaps as we move forward with that, you know, go out to bid next month.
Do you need an action by the board on that to go out to bid next month?
Yeah, we're in pleasure board. I just need someone to sign the amendment, but yes, solution would be fine,
Okay.
on that to move forward with final design and everything on that.
I entertain a motion. I know the mayor had this on his, on the old business and
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is that, Corey, if you want to go over the numbers you sent, and I forwarded your email over to the board, of the potential, we would need to put potentially 50,000 in the budget for next year as a maximum. It may be zero, but based on your numbers, what we may have to contribute to that project from our own funds. Because I think if we're going to vote on going to bid, obviously we don't have to accept the bid if the bid's too high. It'd be nice if we're all on the same page as to what the bounds of that bid mean and where we are. If that bid comes in very, very high, we may have to decline to move forward if it's going to cost us 150K, if it's 100,000 over your estimate.
Yeah, I can review the numbers. I don't know if I have the exact ones in my head right now, but so the phase one project, we had money left over. And we proposed ready, hey, can we move that Market Square Park? They said no, because they had already granted first agreement. So we said, okay, what will they be willing to accept in our project? There was 310, I think, 315 left. So it's either do something or that money, that's grant money, goes away. So Lynn had gone through some stuff and said, hey, what about a pump station and an enclosed building? So Ready approved that. So essentially for the 300 some left, they go through the design, construction admin, bidding, and all that other. You know, got the 315 go through. My amendment, I think it's for, we didn't spend all the inspection and all the other services for phase one. There was like 38,000 left. And I'm projecting to complete Brown Shores with take that and add the 39,000, which would be amendment. Hopefully that's conservative. I put some extra inspection on there. Like I said, if we're able to have other projects going at the same time, then we could save that. But the construction probable cost it came up with is 250,000 to 300,000. So if it comes in at 250, we have all the funds we need. Anything over 250 would be looking at to borrowing. If we don't accept the project, Ready would probably pull that 300,000 away because we can rebid out. I don't know how much we could really de-scope. There's not, you know, we're essentially new pumps and a new building over top so that you can actually enter an enclosure to work on the pumps. It's an FRP building, yeah. It's similar to what's there now, but it's actual door, you know, it's an 8x12 building.
It's easier for them to get in and work on it.
Right.
Because other
Especially
than
during
tiny-
inclement weather conditions.
Yes,
And, you know, the pump station's not all that old, but obviously we had to replace the VFDs that replaced for the project. But they're getting older and older and replacing all the new pumps, so.
I know.
You know,
Did we pick Brown Shores to replace for reasons? What was that mean?
because the money was for the culvert and Brown Shores Road,
Okay.
we had other
We didn't
points.
leave it in that.
Yeah, they just
Okay,
didn't
just
want
wondering, 'cause I know
to.
there could stand to update too, so that's what made me. Okay.
So,
I'll make a motion to authorize.
We know we make motion, or do you say?
I don't know, I think he said.
I mean, I don't really need a resolution, I just need actually the amendment.
So guys,
Hey,
yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
think we need a resolution for me to sign that amendment. And to be clear, it does not commit us to spending that money.
Right.
If when we review the bids that come in, we decide there's no bid that's low enough that we want to spend the delta on what the ready funds are available and what the cost is, we can decline at that point. Like Corey said, that isn't without its own cost, but I think right now he needs to send that amendment in. There isn't really a good reason not to do it, but technically I could probably sign it without one, but I'd rather this be a group decision. If we want to sign that and send it out to bid, we should all vote on it before that amendment gets signed.
That's why I
Great,
wondered if we made a motion, then we could then vote on it and so
Yeah,
no further.
yeah, Right, so we have a motion on the table by trustee Silva.
Can I read what I have? Absolutely. Okay, motion to go bid on the rest of the Brown Shores project for a pump station FRP building for an expected $250,000.
Yeah, I guess the amendment to allow us to go out to that as well.
And then
Engineering amendments, yes.
In
With
addition,
an additional.
do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Second by trustee Townsend. Trustee Silva. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Alex, for that additional information.
One last thing, there's some potential new funding from USDA Rural Development, from the 2022 snowstorm that just came out. They're providing some more details, but it's for a few different counties, Oswego, Jefferson, I think St. Lawrence
I saw that,
Lewis.
right, yeah.
Not quite, it's all due to the snowstorm, but it's supposed to relate to infrastructure. And, you know, I guess the example they gave, if you had like a transmission line or something that goes through the woods,
Right.
they would allow you to relocate that so it's closer to a road corridor to gain access. Solar was another thing they came up with. You know, part of me was thinking, well, I mean, with if bids for this Brown Shores pump station, I mean, that's essentially snowstorm. I mean, access. I mean, not even close the building. I don't know how far they're willing to do it, but we're looking at it to see
What are your-
other potentials.
What are your deadline?
There's no deadline.
It's an open?
It's
Okay,
open
I
right now,
got you.
and to be honest with you, I think our youth's still kind of learning stuff themselves on
Sure,
it.
okay.
So he's learning more. We'll see if I can, you know, talk with Lynn and others to see if there's any projects that we could maybe apply for that'd be worthwhile.
Be interesting to find out. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Anything else engineering wise?
I don't think so. I mentioned it last month, just Madison Barracks, I see there's some construction houses going down there. Still just, you know, we need those utility easements. I don't know if they've ever been.
They're in the, apparently, where are they now, Janet? Did you get an email, last from,
No.
Lynn, anything from you? We'll inquire. I did get something, but that says they should be going to attorneys for then the final docs. But again, I'm just going off a very quick email that I got
Right,
from Madison
right.
Barracks.
You know, my only concerns, and I didn't follow too much on, you know, if the properties have been sold, the easements would only be needed for the individual property owner. Perhaps, and not Madison Barracks, so just,
I think
It-
that's what
we
you
did-
mentioned
yeah, we-
last month, that was.
We discussed that, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We're.
Where are side? Parking lot? I think there's some talk.
not yet. Yes. Yep, they've got, the drainage there that they're gonna, I believe. I've asked for a plan, what I've heard is they're gonna do some infrared to heat up the asphalt. To try
see where
to,
the water's.
to push it if they can. Then also right down from there, there's the sidewalk ADA compliant stuff there. That, they were gonna try to focus on, but they haven't with kind of what's going on at Market Square Park yet.
Okay.
I understand.
They haven't signed it over to us yet, right?
No, just reading in the email.
They extended it and then they didn't. The line items.
So,
They
I'm
wanted to get lost in the but they pushing out.
I'm gonna read a quick update. We have several small items left to finish. Below is an email chain with our project manager, Pat Ward, and Mark Kennard. Engineer, Pat told me he met with Corey and Lynn, Pat Ward, at some point.
We met like 2 or 3 weeks ago about that sidewalk, I think.
Yep. I'm quoting an email. All agreed that outstanding items are minor and should be considered punch list items at this point.
I don't know. I said those words or Lynn, but.
Okay. And that critical work for conveyance purposes is complete. There needs to be a couple of adjustments to as-built drawings that should be completed by mid next week, which is this week. If that falls in place, they can complete conveyance docs and send them to our attorney next week.
I think the parking lot fit.
So,
I don't think that's-
we will inquire with them and say that we're not of the same, of the same, mind on this and that we need more information. Sure.
The approvals for the previous town, at that point, it was unclear to me really. You know, Campbell said water had been turned over to the village. Sewer, didn't think roads had, so we're in that same situation. The planning board attorney said, don't approve anything because. Yeah, so if you could get an update. Before next Wednesday, that yes, the village is now the owner of the water lines. Yes, the village is the owner of the sewer, and how close are we with the roads? Because those are the things that new homeowners and therefore the village should be very careful about.
We'll get that. In fact, we may even have a conference call on it before next Wednesday. I have one more question regarding Robinson Hill. It relates to the 2 stone columns on Robinson Hill are they going to be preserved and incorporated into the landscape design?
No, I don't.
One of them was.
It's still there.
I think I did.
We have them reviewed by an archaeologist, so I didn't have any, they were archaeologically.
I don't remember them as a kid down there. I think they. Protecting that man.
Okay, good. Just a question from
I mean,
a
they could
citizen.
probably reinstall that.
So we'll, when we get to public comment, we may hear more about that, but I just wanted to ask that now, so we didn't lose that.
Yeah, just a quick question on that. I mean,
Sure.
if they aren't already planned to be, I think the next question is it impactful on the construction to leave them there? Because even if they're not technically archaeologically important, it would be nice to preserve them if we can, if they've been there. So, I mean, obviously, if we could remove one or neither, that would be nicer. But I don't know, if the machines that need to get down there are wider than the gap between them, then.
Yeah, right now, the retaining wall that comes out is in direct conflict with those.
Oh, they could be critical.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay. All set? Okay, great. Community organizations that might be here.
We skipped over.
See, she's not on here.
She's online.
There's Peggy, and now you dropped off your own. Huh? No, sorry, I have an agenda that does not include you, so we're moving on. Just kidding. Yeah, right.
$3,700,000. So just believe it. It's been this month.
It's probably why I got dropped off my agenda. Just kidding. All right, thank you. All right, board reports. Mayor, Orchard. Oh, see, you got me all screwed up now. Community organizations, which I don't see any in the audience. That's another reason why I'm.
We got Scott here on
Yep.
the internet.
Scott is here
Yep,
on.
I apologize for not being present, but able to sign in today. So just a quick update from the chamber. We're excited, 18 more days till Halloweenville. We've got 12 to 14 volunteers lined up. Businesses are engaged, planning to participate, decorating buildings, and helping hand out candy. At least 8 people will bring their cars on Main Street for the trunk or treat portion. So we've still got some time to recruit a few more folks for that. There'll be the haunted house at the Historical Society Chamber office. Visitor center will be decorated and there'll be some story time for the kids there. And then the vehicles for the big kids or big trucks, little kids type attraction. We've got a bunch of people planning for that. Tracy was giving me the rundown shortly before the meeting and did say that there was a little bit of hang up trying to get one of the village fire trucks to participate in that. So that might be one spot that we could use some assistance with. She said in previous, just asking was enough, but maybe not this time around.
They were unaware. I asked them about it at their meeting and they were unaware of it and said they had not done that requested, because I said, I think we put the truck down for trunk or treat, and they said, what are you talking about? Oh, they didn't know anything about it.
Okay. Well, we'll follow up here.
We'll do what we can. Absolutely. We'll give it what we, the effort that we can give it and see if they have that.
Okay. And then the huts are in progress. The first one should be ready for Halloweenville, and obviously pulling volunteers to try to get those built and built correctly is it's taking some time, but we are working away at it.
Great.
Can you just clarify with me what you want exactly from the fire department, and I will reach out to them on that truck for when?
So it'll be October 28th from noon to 4 down at the visitor center.
Okay,
Just the truck there for a static display.
okay.
Does he want to spray the kids under the water?
It'll be a little cold. 12 to 4, does it matter, you want the ladder truck, or it doesn't matter what truck?
It doesn't matter what truck, but
Okay. All right, I'll get a hold of them and see what I can do.
okay. Thank you very, very much.
Great. Thank you, Scott. Other community organizations? Hearing none, seeing none, moving on to board reports. Now, Mayor Mordra.
Hey all, so I'll start at the top here with the streetlight project. Once Lynn got the 4 remaining spares and Shannon confirmed that they had reimbursed us for our smart tech bills for the Wi-Fi and network situation, I signed the completion docs for that. So officially the streetlight project from NIPA's perspective is done. There's a little more to do there. I'll tell you from being on Zoom here, the problem with the microphones is a little more apparent than it was when I spoke with Peggy about how she had trouble reviewing the video for minutes. I can hear Mark really well and people on Zoom really well, but everyone else in the audience, it's a little spotty. So we'll keep working on that. But that's from the streetlight project's perspective, that's finished. They've reimbursed the village for those funds. And then Ambrose, Corey, and I'm not sure if it was both Corey and Brandon, but I don't. They did their analysis of the force main on Ambrose, and it does look like the flow capacity is sufficient to handle grinder pumps. So this is good news for the housing on the south side of the LDC land. I still have some work to do. Janet, I'll follow up with you shortly to figure out what's next. But that was the biggest question mark for that project, was whether or not that force main could handle the additional flow. If it couldn't, we might have to revisit the entire thing. It looks like we're in good shape there. So more to come on that next month. And then it looks like we already spoke about Brown Shores. That was something I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page before we put that out to bid. And same with the water intake. I signed that permit so that we can get, hopefully the DEC will not take so long to give us the A-OK or tell us what else we need, but we did sign the water intake permit Um, and those are my updates for this month.
Great. Any questions of the mayor? Okay. My report. Two things actually happened today, therefore nothing written. Before this meeting, I had really the first Can-Am committee meeting, kicked off the Can-Am progress for 2024 today. Brenda Derwin and I met and discussed a number of items. We went through every aspect of the event. We talked about potential changes, what should stay the same, what should change. We talked about budget. We talked about advertising. We talked about just a number of things relating to what happens next year, third week in July. So stay tuned. The one thing that we are doing is we're recruiting volunteers for this committee. We think this year we really do believe that based on the last two successful years, 50 and 51, just there are great things that are going to happen for year 52. So please let Brenda know, or myself, or the village office know, and they'll pass it on for volunteers for this committee. Put it in the newsletter. That's a great idea. Thank you very much. The other thing that I had was I just received word today from our tree committee chair, Kelly Reinhardt, that the grant that she applied for, the New York State Urban Forestry Council Tree City USA Reward Grant Program, we were approved. So with that, 28 trees are going in next week, plus 3 at a later date, hoping to hear about the larger grant for removals and for pruning in November. And I know there's a complete list of 20-something trees that our arborist said need to be removed. We're taking care of that in part with dollars from this grant. So that's good news for the village. I will say that during the marathon last month, many people who were visitors to the village really talked about how great our tree canopy was here. And I know it's important, but we really do. It reduces the overall temperature in the village in the summertime. It does. There are just a host of things that a good tree canopy does for health and for many other aspects of living here. So it's something we should be proud of. I think the tree committee does a great job at maintaining and getting us ready to always replace trees that are unfortunately dying for one reason or another. We know we have to combat, tree disease and other things with, say, for example, the ash tree. There are other trees that we know are coming in turn, that the disease is coming, and we need to be ready for those. We've also I talked to SUNY ESF. My agency that I work for, the Tug-Hill-Demar Land Trust, has been engaged with a chestnut tree project because SUNY ESF is working on creating a blight-resistant chestnut tree. We have a project at the zoo right now. We have 3 chestnut trees, and hopefully soon ESF will deliver us a blight-resistant sapling that we'll put there. The woman that I talked to from ESF said we're looking for villages to plant some chestnut trees to replicate the same thing. And I said, Sackett's Harbor, we have a tree committee. I put them in touch with Kelly, so there's some plans maybe to have some chestnut plantings here in the village. That'll be pretty cool for us. So that is what I have right now. Working on a lot of different things, but those are the 2 big things. I'll defer to the rest of the trustees for their reports. We'll go with trustee Mildred next. Great.
information, usually associated with that activity. We're looking to do a few things with that.
Did we replace,
We have to replace it.
we did replace it.
We're going, we're going to. Money rec committee, funds are really on. I can read and remember, I'm gonna go back to Park and Rec, and I'm gonna talk about Parks right now, and wait for their business. Nothing is really significant to report. You gotta go on 2 committees, I'm on the one for the Park and Rec, I'm also on the LDC committee. No, one movement on the wood, also right by the street, I know. They, some potential opportunity for a park over there. But as far as what we wanna do with that. About dog park, so last, we voted on dog park. We agreed to allocate, earmark $20,000 more funds for that dog park. We agreed and voted on, where to put it, which is on Hill Street, right there next to the, sewage plant, right? Where the DPW was. But I also promised. The due diligence, so. Small group of team, right, trying to create a dog park decision. And what we did is, we took a look at all different locations to possibly put a dog park. It was narrowed down to Hill Street Park, Washington Park, right there in the middle of the village, and then North Ambrose, LDC property, where we earmarks for future growth of the actual village offices. And then we had a set of criteria, and our criteria were existing infrastructure that we tie into security of the actual dog park, not only for people participating, you know, but someone being there by themselves is safe. All right, or just, you know, could someone damage anything, you know, in the surrounding areas? The DPW property. Accessibility, right, impact to the area around it, meaning the neighbors, probably will be impacted. And then what we did is 1 through 3. 1 through 3 in our options, 1 being the best, 3 being the worst. And we just rated these things all the way across the board. And what we came up with was Hill Street was the overall dominant winner of those locations. So, then we voted on it and we approved it and we allocated funds, and that's where we were gonna put it. I wanted to make sure that was the right spots. So we did that, you know, with that small group, and we did a due diligence and we kind of backed it up with that. All right, so you see that in front of you as part of the decision making. Okay, any questions about that?
Thanks, sir. Good.
Is that area finalized? Is that definitely where it's going?
Yes.
It's just a matter of what we, to refer to Lynn's comments earlier, it's not gonna go in the very corner. It would be, they'll figure out exactly where, right?
But it's gonna be.
But it's gonna be within that,
space.
within that space. Okay.
Any questions?
Nope.
That concludes my report for this morning.
All right, great. Any questions, trustee Mildren? Hearing none, trustee Silva.
Much today. 10 fire calls, 31 calls, 2 ME. So in that respect, we're busy. We have upcoming fall play. Being November 17th. Renzi's is closed, so we're sold to US Foods. So previously all that donated to them. Now US Foods does not donate anything. So that might change. Nick Brady, I reached out to everybody. I don't know. He is going to do 8D training. We solidified the date and time, October 24th, 10 a.m. If you want to be trained on how to use it, it's for the staff. Because the worker in the office down the visitor center. Didn't open it up to the library, but there's certainly welcome to come, so I'm running to show them now. They have one there too. They're more than welcome to. It's only going to take about 15 minutes, and then we'll do it until kind of. Other than that, Greg put in his report, so I'll let him talk more about it. But he and I both attended that USDA Rural Development event at JCC, so I'll let him talk more about that. I know we're a couple months off, but I would like to get permission from the board to do the Christmas competition again, just because I want to plan ahead. I don't want to do it last minute. And I want to do it better. Last year it was perceived very well from people, so I'd like to advertise it first time. Last year I tried to get donations, it wasn't great, so I don't know if we can authorize some money out of the account somewhere. I can ask Shannon to be able to take a couple $100 for gift cards for winners. But I would just like your permission that we can go ahead and do that.
Nobody have a problem with that. I think that's fine. Right. Mayor, you okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
All right, I'll move forward on that.
thanks. Questions of trustee Silva? Nope. Trustee Townsend.
As Kelly just mentioned, she and I attended the GSBARD. In particular, to see if there was anything with the Arliss situation and, you know, she and I are experts. I don't think anything up here is obvious to us. They have many
Right.
grants, low interest, no interest loans, accommodations, all kinds of things, but nothing that seemed to fit. Mark, you've got.
I'm trying to, I'm working through Senator Gillibrand's office right now to try to get a, you know, a real good contact over there to sit down with them. Yeah.
Yeah, so there might be something.
Yep.
Creative.
Hopefully.
Something we had talked about through previously, idea of. Kind of grant writer, someone that.
Right.
Has the expertise to go out and search for things that.
Yeah.
You know, we just don't have that.
Right.
expertise.
There's a firm that I'm very familiar with that works with many municipalities between here and up into St. Lawrence County. They're kind of experts at going for public grants and even looking out for us. You know, our political interest in Albany, right? Because sometimes we need a little help, right? So perhaps we can arrange a meeting, a couple of us with strategic development specialists and see what they might be able to offer in terms of grants, grant writing. Do you guys work at all with them? Leanne West? Ever heard?
Leanne?
Yeah.
I've heard the name. I don't-
Yeah. She is, her office is across the street from in the whatever the financial building is, the old ag building, basically, right? Yeah. So, but I thought it came to mind because they certainly did a lot of work in St. Lawrence County, a lot of work in certain counties or certain villages and towns, and including Jefferson County, and then with other organizations. So I thought, well, there's one source. We could do a lot of different things, but it's probably time. It's probably time to do that, right? It's pre-budget.
We did. Right.
Right.
We allocate some funds to it.
Right.
Share the cost. We do this, Mark, I'm not saying, no, why should we do this? This takes-
Yeah.
It's, I think. Let's find a grammar that's affordable, county building, we should have-
I think that's a conversation.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I just feel like.
Absolutely, we're not even.
I mean, I know that Dave is doing what he can on the grants that he's doing, but there's a lot on one person.
This is something we
Mayor.
talked about
Go ahead, Mayor.
up in at the LDC in Clayton. We Mike Hoagland and Eric Constance and I went up and spoke with Christy Dipple, and generally we got some good advice from her, but in particular was a intermunicipal cooperation was the idea that kind of stuck with me, and her thoughts were what has worked for them. And I know a lot of people, when they hear like what worked for Clayton, they say, oh, we're different than them. And I agree, the goals of how you want the community to look may be different, but the goal of obtaining grants to fund development in the direction you choose, they've been very successful. And so modeling that, I think, could be effective for us. And what they did was their town, their village, cooperate and both fund a grant writer. And I've had conversations with Supervisor Arthur and also with Superintendent Gaffney about potentially working together with the LDC and the village and the town and the school to fund a internal grant writer that we can use to kind of look for programs that require intermunicipal cooperation to get the grants, right? If we as the village just hire a third party, that may work. We may get more grants than we're getting now. But I think exploring bringing someone in and working with the groups around us to cooperate could be more effective. And so that's something I think is worth exploring versus, and it may be that we decide hiring an outside firm is a better plan, but I think we should definitely weigh both options.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're right. I think we need to weigh all options, and then it's pre-budget. It's a great time to be doing this, right? So.
Yeah, I would like to have a plan in place by the time this town.
All right,
That was.
great. Thank you. Any other questions of Trustee Townsend? Okay. Old business. We are going to at this point pass or put the resolution forth for the amendment to the dog control law. This would be resolution number 13 of 2023 to adopt local law number 5 of 2023 amendment to the Village of Sackets Harbor's dog control law of the Village of Sackets Harbor local law number 2 of 2001. And I know I have to read this, so bear with me. Whereas the Village Board of the Village of Sackets Harbor, New York is interested in amending the local law number 2 of 2001 dog control law of the Village of Sackets Harbor, and whereas the village board has determined that such amendment is necessary for the health and safety of the village residents, and whereas the village board has evaluated the legislation in light of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQR, and has determined SEQR does not apply, and whereas the village board is determined to proceed with legislation to amend local law 2 of 2001, dog control law of the Village of Sackets Harbor, now therefore be resolved by the village board of the Village of Sackets Harbor, New York, that number 1, the village board hereby enacts local law 5 of 2023, which is intended to amend local law 2 of 2001, Dog Control Act of the Village of Sackets Harbor. Number 2, the mayor of the Village of Sackets Harbor and the village clerk for the Village of Sackets Harbor, their respective agents and employees are authorized to sign all documents and take steps necessary to enact the legislation. And number 3, this resolution shall take effect immediately. And I will offer this for a board member to entertain the motion.
Do we want to talk about?
We can do that.
Yeah, we did a public hearing last month.
We did at a public hearing. We can remind them. Why don't you do that?
Not to worry or otherwise harass any domestic animal or pet. So this just allowed residents restitution. Apparently the way the law was written before, if something happened, it's clear what a domesticated companion animal was. So this makes it more clear. So that if they are trying to get,
they can be charged. They can be charged. Yes. Actually, it's not restitution, to be clear. It's they can be charged now. Before they couldn't be charged at all.
I'll make a motion to Pass resolution number 13/2023.
Motion by trustee Silva, looking for a second,
I'll second.
seconded by trustee Townsend. Roll call vote, please. He's there. There you go, Alex. Did you register?
Sorry, I just can't hear, I can't hear Peggy much. Did you ask for me, Peggy?
Yes.
Roll call.
Yep,
Yeah, aye.
thank you.
Deputy Mayor Sullivan.
Aye.
Trustee Novak.
Aye.
Trustee Johnson.
Aye.
Trustee Silva.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay. Under old business, there is something else that Mayor, I think, said easement. I believe Peggy said that that is a continuing piece under old business because we're still discussing the easement issue with the Kring property. I think that's still in the works in terms of,
Yeah, I think Janet mentioned that we were waiting on an actual application from the potential
and we don't
buyer
have it
to,
yet, so,
and he hasn't sent it, so we can't refer it even to the planning board attorney yet.
okay. That remains tabled. New business, anything under new business?
Did we finish the other things?
Sag Harbor, we did, all the other items before previous, all right? I do have, and you have, two letters that are attorney-client privilege, so they're not public letters, just FYI for you all. Under correspondence, we do have the monthly Dank report, and you can read the Dank report, 248. Let's see here, 10,291,415 gallons metered this month, the month of August, actually. So we don't have September. Oh, thank you, Peggy. Yep, got that too, got that.
Talk about new business.
Getting to that right now, yep. We do have an application, it was submitted today for an event in May. And being that it was submitted today, we need all departments to weigh in on it. And event permits, we consider 2 weeks after we get them. So we may hear about it in the public comment section, but we have to take this up at the next meeting, assuming that this all gets before each of the departments. Okay? All right, public comment. First, from the public in-house.
Can I just talk about the permits?
Sure, state your name and address.
Yep, Jenna Gowers.
Yeah.
And we wanted to move the race, the 1812, and half marathon race from historically being in August to May. The reason is because we did a lot of the time of the year. And we kind of played around with the date a little bit, I think you're aware. And then the other race came in, and we think that May is just better
Okay.
in a lot of ways. Our concept is that we may be able to extend your season because it's before Memorial Day. But then also, it's cooler, we're gonna have better safety outcomes for runner,
Which is really important.
Yeah.
I'm glad, that's good.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we're going with it, but
Okay.
pretty much it's very much the same. We would like to start marketing it so it can be, of the short turnaround.
Sure. As I stated, we have to, this has to go, to all departments. So we'll do that. Curious, are you locked in on the specific dates in May or are you flexible a little bit?
So ideally, do the week before Memorial Day again, for a couple of reasons. One is because spring is a little later here, it's a little dicey trying to train through snow for a longer distance race. So having it a little later in the spring allows it to be a little better temperatures for those really long training
Sure.
runs.
Sure.
So we really are kind of locked into that date if that's possible. Yeah,
Okay.
ideally.
We will be obviously back with you after the November board meeting. Yeah, sure.
Well, I want to need it because I
Great.
put this on
Well,
here, so.
so you drove in from Binghamton just for this meeting. Oh, good. Your mother's here. That's good to hear. Yes. All right. Any other public comment? Anybody on Zoom? Tawny,
Yes, thank you. Am I on?
you are.
Thank you. So it's, first of all, Connie Barone, co-village historian, 411 General Smith Drive. Since it's very difficult to hear what people are saying, I do know that Mark commented on the note that I put in chat, questioning the 2 stone columns at the top of Robinson Hill for the future of those. And I don't know what was said. I could pretty much only hear what Mark was saying.
Okay.
Can you kind of give me an update? The
Sure.
reason I'm interested in those is because that they're really part of the community's landscape history. They've been there for a very long time. I don't know the date on them, but they kind of remind me of the stonework that is in Washington Park. 1932, I believe, is when Washington Park was dedicated, and wondering if some stonework like this was done kind of in that neighborhood at that time. I know the 2 stone columns at the head of Robinson Hill did have a chain at one point between them. And wondering if they can be incorporated into the new design, therefore retaining 2 landscape details that have been in the community for a very long time.
Okay, board, may I address, Connie, because we should, this is probably important. We learned, Connie, that we're not sure of how long they've been there. Greg doesn't remember them as a kid, but Greg's 130 years old, so. But that doesn't mean that they weren't there necessarily. Secondly, there was an archaeological study done and nothing of significance came up from the archaeologist, say the engineers. I also heard that one of them is down, right? One of them is already down because I think construction vehicles have needed to get through there. So if we retain them, they would have to be reconstructed, I suppose. Do you guys have any further comment on those? Could they be, in theory?
I guess it depends on when they remove them.
Base.
It's something that take down.
It's an option, honestly.
I don't know the state that they're in now, when they're removed, are they?
He's probably referring to keeping them in the same spot, which is unlikely. If anything, they could be shifted a little bit there, but they're obviously right in the way of
They're right.
progress.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I don't want to speak for Connie, but just to be clear, pretty much anything you want to be very clearly heard, Mark's going to have to repeat. We're getting bits and pieces of the discussion.
Right. I was about to restate what the discussion was. And it was basically that they're right now they're in the way. it would be unlikely that they could stay in that particular, in the exact spot that they are. So the question becomes, I think, do we, after the project is over, is that something that we could discuss in terms of putting them back? And I think the board said that we can continue that discussion. So at this point, they may be taken down, but we'll keep them in our possession, and we can have a discussion about what happens after the project is completed. Okay, Connie?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the connection is to archaeology. I mean, that's, separate, that's underground. These are landscape details, architectural details in landscape. And I wasn't suggesting that they stay in the same exact spot,
Okay.
but that they could be incorporated in some manner. I don't know if Greg, did you sled down the hill when you were a child? Do you remember them?
I did, and as Mark said, I'm getting up there in years.
Yes, you don't remember that. Well, I remember them when I was sledding there, so, and I'm a little bit older than you, so.
You remember them?
Anyway, just wanted to make sure
She
that,
does,
Must remember.
Yeah,
I honestly, I don't remember, because I would have thought as kids, we would have been jumping off of them and trying off.
I was thinking.
well, anyway, I couldn't hear most of that anyway, but I just wanted to make the
We're-
point that we look at that our community's landscape history as well as we move forward, and that keep that into consideration to retain such things as those columns in some form in the new design, if possible. Thank you.
That's great. And I like that you referred to similar concrete work in Washington Park. So we will do that, and we'll talk more about it, but there's no rush on that right now. And the reference to archaeology simply was that by way of your exercise, you guys just had that done by an archaeologist. And I just stated it because it was information. So.
Okay, that's great. And it's great that you are doing archaeology.
Great. Anything else? Any public? I will close public comment, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Kelly makes the motion. Are there a second? Seconded by trustee Milton. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Your